Hello, I'm Lynda LaPlante, and I'm here in my office where I wrote Buried, the first book in the series featuring Detective Jack Warr. You have been an actress, a screenwriter, and a novel writer. Is there anything you can't do? Well, there's an awful lot I can't do. I can't ski very well. I can't really do a lot of running. In fact, I'm somebody that really does not like any form of exercise apart from walking my dog. I do like walking. And my dog, I haven't told you about him before, but his name is Hugo, and he is an enormous breed called a Borzoi. That is a Russian wolfhound. So basically and truthfully, I'm not very good at anything else but being a screenwriter and a novel writer because I'm not a very good cook. However, my son Lorcan is excellent, and we have a great barbecue, and he does phenomenal steaks. So I'm a meat eater, and I wish I could say I could knit, but I'm afraid I'm hopeless at that. So really I should be very happy that I am employed to be a screenwriter and a novel writer. What inspired you to become a full-time writer? What made you choose crime fiction in particular? Well, I was an actress for many, many years. And there comes a point when you're an actress that you are really playing the same role over and over again. The ability of casting directors is very minuscule in reality. So I was actually playing a very boring part in a sort of crime series called The Gentle Touch with an actress called Jill Gascoigne, who is sadly no longer with us. But the scene I had with her was very funny because I had this ridiculous name. So whenever she said to me when we were rehearsing, "Please call me Margaret," I had to turn to her and say, "Please call me Juanita." When I asked why I was called Juanita, there was nobody could actually tell me, but I was told the writer wrote that, and so that's what you should call yourself, which I did. But we got the giggles every time we did the scene, and even when we were filming, it was a really, really behaved like naughty schoolgirls. Anyway, after that, I went and I asked the editor, how do you write for a crime series like the one I've just done? He said, oh, you write a storyline and send it in, and if we like it, we'll commission it. I said, oh, okay. So I went home and I wrote 3 storylines with myself as a starring role, I have to say. Anyway, they were all rejected. But one, called The Widows, somebody scrawled across, "This is brilliant." I don't know who it was. So I rejigged it, reworked it. It was just 2 pages of an idea, and I sent it in to Verity Lambert. Very important to other writers. If you are sending in a script idea, make sure you send it to the right people. No good sending a drama to a comedy. No good sending a crime when they do historical drama only. Anyway, I was brought in and they commissioned Widows, my first crime series. And what I learnt from that commission was go to source. If you have a prisoner, go to prisons and meet prisoners. Everything about it was done by research, and that is the way I virtually live my life, and how I continue writing is by going to source over and over again. So I hope that's encouraging to any hopeful writer out there. How has your theatre background influenced your writing? It really does influence me tremendously because I sit here and I literally talk every section of dialogue over to myself. And I think that if I can't make it sound right, then rework it and polish it and polish it. So in many ways, that background has proved to be very, very important. And I remember a note that is equally important is, if you can see it, don't talk about it, show it. And that is a very big note to all writers. Don't overwrite. So I try with my writing and being very influenced by keeping that pace up, but making sure when you have dialogue, it is exceedingly well written. So I hope that answers your question. You are also an honorary fellow of the Forensic Science Society, the first layperson to become one. How did that come about? And what does it entail? And do you think it has helped with your writing? Well, as I just said before, when I was asked about how much the theatre plays a part in my writing, and research plays an equally big part. So forensic, I am not a forensic scientist. So what do when I have a forensic detail that needs to be looked at, agreed, rewritten? I used to go to forensic science. And over again, I found their information and their input so important. And there was one very important thing I found out, which was, for example, how many times do you see in a crime drama the reference to toxicology report? And, you see a cadaver brought in, and they're being examined for the autopsy, and then they'll say, have we got the toxicology report in? And somebody say, oh yes, it's just come in. Well, they told me that no. Often a toxicology report, how many times the scientists have to test the blood and all the different parts of a body that they've been sent, can take weeks before you get confirmation, heroin addict, arsenic was in the hair. So because I refused point blank to ever take dramatic license and use the details I got in from forensic science, they began to appreciate and encourage me to always go to them. And I think it was because I honoured and thanked them that they gave me the unprecedented, first layperson to become part of the society. It's a very big honour, and I'm very, very proud to have been made, an honorary fellow. It means a great deal. And as I say, I keep constantly in touch with all the wonderful scientists I've met through the society. And also you can catch up and hear me talking to many of the scientists in my podcast, Listening to the Dead. Buried is the first novel in the new Jack Warr series. What can you tell us about the book and the series itself? Basically, I wanted to create a new detective. But what I didn't want was a detective that was involved with drugs, had domestic problems, divorce, was an alcoholic, as we see in so many crime shows. I wanted to create a character that you liked. Yes, he has flaws, very big flaws at times, but if you read Buried, you will see that I've created a character that you want to do well, you want to like him, and at the same time you accept all his flaws. And I think by doing that, I've created a character that will hopefully be shortly very seen on our screens, because the success of Buried has been absolutely extraordinary. The relationship between Jack Warr and your older heroines, the widows, is double-sided. On the one hand, there is the typical policeman-villain relationship, but there is also a type of mutual respect there. How did you decide to link these two big stories. Truthfully, when I was doing a book signing event, one of the people there, when I do a Q&A after a talk, asked me what happened to Harry Rawlins' son. I was so surprised because I'd never thought about it. But for those who never saw Widows, Harry Rawlins was a big-time villain who betrayed his wife and committed a very big, dangerous armed robbery. And eventually, because of his betrayal of his wife, she began to take revenge on him. And he was shot dead by her. And she subsequently was arrested for his murder. She was an incredibly popular character called Dolly Rawlins. But because that one person had asked about the son, and it was now, God, nearly 30 years later. So what did happen to that son? And that was the kickstart of why I wanted to create the character of Jack Warr. And on his first assignment, because he has no idea who his real father was. He was adopted by the most wonderful couple. He's had a very happy life, and he's a very relaxed, laid-back guy. He's got no problems at all. But on his first big assignment in London, they investigate a burnt-out cottage. And the reason they investigate this terrible, burning cottage that's ablaze, they find a body in there, burnt to a cinder, but he is surrounded by banknotes, charred £10 banknotes that were now out of use because of the new banknote had come in. And that fascinated him as a detective. What he slowly began to unearth, and unwittingly to begin with, who was Dolly Rawlins? Who were the other women involved in that robbery? And I just thought it was calmer, in a way, to link these two big stories together as Jack Warr uncovers the background of where the women went to, who were successful, storing the money from the heist, where did they live, how were they living? And as he begins to research that, he also uncovers the fact of who was his real father. And I think the link between it really does work incredibly well, because Harry Rawlins was an incredibly successful character in a series. So I hope you will all find that that relationship between the past and the present really does work in Buried. In this first book, Jack Warr is coming into his own. What do you think is Jack's most attractive feature as a character? Oh, I think that's quite easy to answer, because he is a very attractive man. It's not just the physical part of him. He's a very attractive man in his personality. He's so likeable. He's a joker. He's always in trouble. He is also very deeply in love with his girlfriend, who in actual fact has a better job than he has. She's training to be a surgeon. So he's very much in her awe as well as in love with her. But his most attractive feature is that he won't let go. He becomes fascinated. He's also shows quite a dangerous streak, because he's all for his warmth and his fun. There is a dark side to him that slowly begins to surface. In each book now depicting this character, from Judas Horse to the new book, Vanished, we see him growing. I hope you enjoy the next 2 books. With so many series and novels, how do you keep yourself invested in all the characters, and how do you keep everything fresh? Basically, the simple thing about it is I like the characters I've written. You know, if you don't write something that you're going to be spending an awfully long time with, months and months and months, even the names are important to a character, because if you create a name that's difficult to pronounce, it's going to be difficult every time you jot it down on your computer. So just creating a name is terribly important. I mean, Jack Warr is so easy to remember and so likeable, even just as a name. Dolly Rawlins, all the characters have these names that are very easy to remember and likeable. And I really do enjoy investing in the characters and keeping them in many ways alive. That's what's really good, that they keep on living and they keep on growing and you keep on learning more about them in every single novel. But that is really the bottom line is, who are they? Do you want to see more of them? Or are you going to kill them off? Hopefully, most of them you want to see more of. Who do you think is the target audience for your book? I think the overall target of my book is anyone obviously interested in crime, but also the fact it is a very strong storyline. And in Buried, hopefully many readers have already seen Widows, so there's inkling in it that they may know and remember. But everyone always says the main big target in selling books are the 18-year-olds. They're very hard to draw in. So I would say my main target buyer are a lot of women, and in many cases they pass the book to the husband and then he becomes a fan. So the overall target is hopefully as big a readership or as big an audience as I can possibly get. Thank you.